We now go from New York State to Parkland, Florida, where Ian Parker now joins us live. The Duck, live and in color. Dude, so did you make Cody put the duck on the Fight Island T-shirt, or did he just do that as a nod to the great Ian Parker?
Both. I said to him, I go, I feel like that island's missing something. He's like, a duck? I'm like, you could just throw a little one in there on the island. There's ducks on the island. And it's funny because I said to Kenny, I said, these shirts are fire. And I sent the screen when I sent to you, and Kenny goes, I didn't even fucking notice that. I said, what a surprise. Something with me. Kenny just lets it go right over his head. No big deal, though. It's fine.
It's kind of like those DMs he sends me to follow him. I don't see him. I don't know why.
He doesn't see him. He sends me the emoji that looks like this when I say that. He goes,
the squinting
I'm
emoji.
sitting there going like, this fucking guy just keeps smiling at me, and yet he just doesn't click the goddamn button. It's terrible.
Amazing that you were able to get the duck on that T-shirt without getting the Ken Flo approval. But
yeah.
Kenny liked it. He liked it.
No, it's a nice touch. AnikFlorianPodcast.com if you do want to go into the store and get a Fight Island T-shirt. They are now available. I think there's a promo code AF10 if I'm not mistaken as well. All right, Ian. So, I appreciate your friendship as much as I do your contribution to this show. And you sent me a very nice text message when the UFC show was postponed because I know you were happy I wasn't going to have to fly all over the country. Were you surprised, though, that somebody intervened and asked Dana to stand down, or was it your expectation that there were kind of a lot of days still on the calendar and getting to April 18th was pretty ambitious to begin with?
Yeah, look, as a fight fan, obviously I wanted to see what was going on. And as we talked about you as my friend, I didn't want you risking your family and your health and all that stuff. I didn't think the fights were ever going to happen. Listen, we all heard about the location that was revealed. John's already drinking. It's only 1:41. Jesus Christ. They never, for Dana or the UFC to not ever post the location on their social media. To me, that was just the one sign right there. And, hearing with Rose backing out, it was just a matter of time that every fighter at one point, except for, I don't think Tony knows that it's canceled. I'm pretty sure he's still waiting at the location after cutting weight. So look, at the end of the day, I think it was the best thing that they possibly could have done. Dana White, kudos for trying to make it happen. But I told you, I even said to Kenny, I just don't see how this happens by the 18th with everything going on. There's just no way. And the fact that I was the CEO of Disney had to call Dana. He's like, yo, this is Mickey here. Relax. We'll be here for you. We got this. It says a lot, but you know what? At the end of the day, it didn't happen, and everyone could stay healthy until this thing fucking chills out a little bit.
So I know we did a fantasy draft, and we all came up with a fight card based loosely on some of the fight cancellations or postponements. When this train resumes, Kenny and Ian, you talk about all hands on deck. You could put on paper what would be on paper, Kenny, maybe the deepest, best card in UFC history with all the talent.
Not to mention probably every single weekend. They're gonna. If UFC wants to fulfill this quota and all that stuff, and they have a bunch of people who are waiting to fight, there's going to be maybe one or two fight cards every weekend. It's crazy.
Well, we were just talking about how potentially loaded some of these UFC shows could be, but let's get to May 9th, which is UFC 250. Because I feel like the UFC's bantamweight division might be my favorite right now. Jose Aldo, off a loss, was going to come challenge Henry Cejudo for the UFC bantamweight title, or should I say Henry was going to go to Rio to put his belt on the line. But Dominic Cruz has been offered the UFC bantamweight title shot. Now, I'm not sure if that's still going to happen. But as the consensus greatest bantamweight of all time, and given what he's put on paper, granted it was a long time ago, I have no problem with him getting a title shot if Aljo's not healthy, if they don't believe Sandhagen has put enough wins on paper, if Jan and Aldo can't get here. But how fucking crazy a reality is that Dominic Cruz could be fighting for a title here in like 29 days?
Let's go even a step further. What if he beats Henry? Look, Cruz has done the unthinkable, coming back from injuries, and not just regular injuries. These are career-ending injuries for most human beings. And you got a guy, if you follow him on social media like I do, I know he's your friend. I've never had the honor of meeting Dom other than seeing the back of his head when you and I did Instagram Live one time in a hotel. But, the dude's always training. He's working hard. He doesn't make excuses. And people may shit on this idea, that he hasn't fought in a couple of years. But, guys, who else is there? I don't think Corey Sandhagen's name sells. I think that's a guy also I want to see him fight some top-level guys before we get there. Aljo, if he's not healthy. Peter, Jan is stuck with his Siberian Huskies out there in the snow. So he's not coming over. So at process of elimination, if you guys are willing to accept Jose Aldo doing this fight, I accept Dominic Cruz with open fucking arms, and I'm looking forward to it. And if for some reason Dominic gets stuck in California, I hear Kenny Florian's ready to go. So, it's Flo. They're calling you out of retirement for a title shot against Triple C. Let's go.
135. That's 5 weight classes, guys. Imagine me. You saw me at 145.
Look, Kenny, we are talking about pound for pound rankings, bro.
It's true.
I know you want in. You can do it.
It's true. All right.
I believe in you. So
I could do it.
So we have had our team together brainstorming different content ideas in terms of the next month and how to handle it, because certainly there's so much that we could do with UFC Fight Pass at our disposal. We can go any number of different ways, right? We're going to do a right now pound for pound tournament. But before I get into the details on what we're going to do with the fans, yes, all credit to Ken Flo, by the way. This was all Ken Flo's idea. But Kenny, I just want to start with the whole pound for pound discussion, because candidly for me, it's not always been a conversation that I have embraced or enjoyed, because guys like Stipe and DC, right? Like, to me, oftentimes it's throw out the heavyweights, right? It's like, I feel like sometimes I focus on only guys 35 through 70 when I talk about truly pound for pound at its core. So I know we're all in, but what are your thoughts loosely on the pound for pound debate to begin with?
No disrespect to anybody heavier than 170, but you're probably right about that, because for me, it's all about what would happen if those guys, those competing pound for pound candidates, were the same weight and possibly the same height. How would a Henry Cejudo do if he was in that 250 pound range, right? And how would Max Holloway do against Stipe at 250 or whatever? So I think that's how you measure a pound for pound deal, is what would happen assuming those guys were about the same height and about the same weight. And that way it makes it about skill. What kind of skills, what kind of physical characteristics are they bringing into the octagon there, right? So I think that's the key, right?
Ian, go ahead.
No, it's an interesting take, because I also think that if you go about it that way, I think guys would have to train differently. They'd have to, like, if you took Francis Ngannou and said, hey, you have to cut weight to get to 45, I don't think he's just standing there throwing bombs. I think he's going to have to learn how to actually wrestle and not just be a powerhouse. For me, but Kenny, what you're talking about is like the ultimate dream situation for someone like myself. Growing up, I always thought I was a triple threat. I was short, white, and Jewish. So aspirations of the NBA, I was always like, oh, if I was 6'2", I would be awesome. But at 5'2", I'm like a smaller Earl fucking Boykins, which was like, it was like Muggsy Bogues used to love to come teach at our school, because he's like, I'm standing next to this, this fucking asshole who thinks he's gonna make the NBA. So, when in this situation, I almost want to look at the pound for pound as guys that would have success now if they went up or down. So sometimes I look at guys like, to John's point with the heavyweights, it's hard for me to see what Stipe would do at 205, because I don't know if his style works in a division where guys are a little bit faster, who are a little bit more elusive, as opposed to these power guys where he's the faster guy. DC has shown us that at heavyweight, he's been successful, and at 205, obviously, other than John Jones, he's been successful. How do we measure certain guys who have only fought in one division and just assume, hey, pound for pound, they could take on guys heavier than him?
Well, this is what I love about this scenario is, you could see the strength of the division as well through this, right? Mm-hmm. Are you telling, would Francis Ngannou have the same kind of success at lightweight as he would at heavyweight, assuming he was 155 pounds? Again, so this is where it determines what skills are we actually talking about here. Right. So just making them the same weight, and I think that's originally what the pound for pound best fighter was in boxing. That was where the conversation revolved around, was if they were the same weight, how would they fare? Right.
Oh God, I hope Cody Merrill's got his graphic art genius ready, because if I don't see Francis Ngannou at 135 fighting Cejudo at some point, that little ass body, big head, and big hands, I'm gonna lose it. It's gonna be phenomenal.
All right, well, to that end, let us get you some details for the right now pound for pound bracket challenge. So right now pound for pound means you're not getting a prime Daniel Cormier unless you feel like Daniel Cormier at 41 years old is smack dab in the middle of his fighting prime. Kamaru Usman, for example, ranked number 7 in the world right now, appears to be smack dab in his fighting prime or entering it right now. So you're getting a prime Kamaru Usman versus a late career Daniel Cormier, even though according to the UFC's pound for pound rankings, DC right now has the higher ranking. So that will be sort of our base. It's going to be the UFC's top 15. But here's a big part of the kicker and something that Kenny and I really like. We are trying to have our listeners and our viewers determine who they believe right now is the best pound for pound fighter in the world. We also want you to determine the last man in to the tournament, right? So we have the top 15. Our listeners are going to come up with the 16 seed, the man who will challenge John Jones, who is the number 1 seed in the opening round. So I'm going to go through 1 through 15. Wow. But first, Ian, I'm going to give you the 4 guys who have been nominated for the 16 seed, and you can start to help our listeners if you have a lean in one direction. All right, so the 4 fighters vying to get into the right now pound for pound tournament: Leon Edwards, the aforementioned Francis Ngannou, Paulo Costa, and Colby Covington. So those are the guys on the outside looking in. Number 15 in the world right now is Dominic Reyes. 14 is Robert Whittaker, and on it goes. But one of those 4, Edwards, Ngannou, Costa, and Covington, is going to be facing John Jones in round 1, and they might fucking win. You know,
if this was like a matchmaking challenge, it would just be for me like what exciting fight or whose ass do I just want to see beat more than anything. Like if you don't think I want to see Colby Covington get just the shit beat out of him by John Jones, just to see if that gimmick holds up. But I think this is an easy choice. How do you not say Francis Ngannou in this situation? I mean, he has to be. I don't see any of the other guys really in a pound for pound yet in their career and anything. I think Leon Edwards is a very exciting guy because we haven't seen him where he is supposed to be, if that makes sense. Maybe he does win the title and that changes this conversation. But as of today, Francis Ngannou versus John Jones, that's exciting. And that could really happen. That's what's even cooler. We're not going to get too many of those, I think, in this whole bracket, where the realistic match actually happens. Right. This one, I think, can and possibly will. So I'm going to go with Francis there. Also, I'm kind of afraid that he listens to the show and thinks I'm making fun of like his small 35-pound frame. So right. Francis, I pick you, bro.
So, Kemflo, this is your baby. So if fans do want to vote, they can go to YouTube. They can go to Twitter, where there will be a poll with 4 choices: Leon Edwards, Francis Ngannou, Paulo Costa, Colby Covington. We also have a hotline set up. So you can leave the show a voicemail at any time. You can go to AnikFlorianPodcast.com, or you can call the hotline 1-857-301-8994, 857-301-8994. Some of those voicemails might make it on the show next week. But just want to know who you think deserves inclusion in the tournament. Who should be the 16 seed? Leon Edwards, Francis Ngannou, Paulo Costa, or Colby Covington? All right. Let me clear my throat, and we're going to get to the matchups right now. And then just any thoughts you guys have on the way out in terms of these opening round matchups. But it's going to be up to the fans to determine who wins these matchups and ultimately who we crown as the right now pound for pound king. All right. 16th seed to be determined takes on John Jones. The 15th seed Dominic Reyes versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. The 14th seed Robert Whittaker takes on 3rd seeded Henry Cejudo. The 14th seed is Tyron Woodley. Excuse me, the 13th seed is Tyron Woodley. He will take on Stipe Miocic. Then you have Dustin Poirier versus Israel Adesanya. Max Holloway against his good friend Daniel Cormier. That's just going to be bananas if those two are going head-to-head. Kamaru Usman versus Tony Ferguson. That might be the best matchup of round 1, the 7 seed versus the 10 seed. And then your classic 8-9 game, the newly minted UFC featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski against Conor McGregor as the number 9th ranked pound-for-pound fighter in the world. So there's your UFC top 15, and those are your opening round matchups. Ken Flo, what jumps off the page, kid?
I'm giddy already just thinking about those matchups. And again, I guess what you got to think about more than anything else, yes, we're going to have our favorite fighters and all that stuff. We want to see them do well, but take into consideration how they match up against the other fighter. That's what makes this so interesting, is don't just look at what they've done or what the record is or their current momentum, but look at how they match up against the other fighter. And I think this is what makes the fight game so damn interesting. So again, I think as far as the 16th seed going up against John Jones, based on who you pick, they might advance past John Jones and get a huge upset. So I'm really curious to see how the fans see this, and I can't wait to see how it plays out week by week.
Ian Parker, obviously next week we will get those poll results and talk about that 16 versus 1 matchup. But what do you like on the opening round there, kid?
Tony Ferguson and Kamaru Usman jumps out at me.
Could have even happened April 18th potentially.
Well, that's something that we brought up. I thought that I thought that was going to happen. To be honest, I thought Tony them saying, "Listen, your title shot at 55, it probably is never going to happen because of how crazy this is." But hey, Usman will fight you at 70, and Tony would have been like, "I'll eat. Let's go." That would be such a crazy fight, man. Oh my God. That's something I think could also happen. Like if Tony wins the belt eventually, you're talking about a guy I think who can go to 70 and have success. He's batshit crazy enough to do it also. I really want to know if he cut weight. I want to see if he weighed in at home. We didn't get a follow-up on that video, but that would be kind of funny. But I love that one.
Time.
Yeah, Dustin Poirier and Israel Adesanya, I felt that's kind of interesting. I think Adesanya wins, but it's still just a weird matchup to think about that never would have thought of before. Then Volkanovski, Conor McGregor. That is something I think we could also potentially see in the future. I mean, Volkanovski's a big 45er, to see him go up to 55 and meet Conor, that could be fun. Man, this is so cool. This is something that I hope like afterwards, one of these popular like streaming guys actually puts them together and does the simulations. That'd be fucking sick.
So, again, you can chime in on the hotline, 857-301-8994. You can go to YouTube or Twitter and vote in terms of the 16 seed. But I think the best part of this for fans, you're going to get an opportunity to fill out a bracket, right? So once the bracket is completed with that 16 seed, you're going to pick all these matchups and you are going to crown a right now pound-for-pound king. And I think most interesting for me is to see just how low a seed or high a seed, but just how low a seed potentially could get into the final. We talk so much about John Jones and Khabib. I can almost guarantee you, Ken Flo, our final game in the right now pound-for-pound challenge is not going to be Khabib versus John Jones. It's just not,
No, it's crazy. Again, the matchups are everything. Styles make fights, and I'm really curious to see how this plays out. I can't wait to break it down with you and Ian week by week, and it gives us something really fun to do until it's actually fight time. So participate. Give us your picks, guys. This is awesome.
The more the merrier, and obviously we'll talk about the matchups next week. Ian Parker, anything else before we let you fly, kid? How are the kids behaving? All right?
Oh, it's just delightful over here. Yesterday, my son climbed up. We have by our pool, we have I thought it would be cool to have rocks stacked up. We could cliff jump into the deep end of the pool. This kid just flying off it. And my 3-year-old daughter, I turn around to grab him and she's jumping off it. I have no control, zero. And my wife is like, "Don't let them do that," while she's setting up bubbles on the outside of the pool. So it's, we're doing great. It's look, this is just such uncharted territory, even for people that stay home and do things. The kids are just, I don't know. It's just if I didn't have a pool, I'd be screwed because taking them on bike rides or walks is just not intriguing. Kids don't like bubbles anymore, and kids love bubbles.
Well, and it's also, my son still likes bubbles, thankfully, but probably in 2 weeks he's going to be like, "Dad, enough of this sticky bullshit. Get it out of here." But you're
bubbles.
right.
Exactly.
In terms of the social distancing, it's very hard because people are everywhere. And I do envy Ken Flo a little bit right now with the one kid, though, man. I know you got dogs and everything else, but because if you got two able-bodied parents and one kid, right. It's here, Clark, take True for an hour. I'm going to go do fucking recreational drugs or run a mile, but here. So for me, I finished this podcast. I've been doing podcasts all day. I go downstairs and it's there's 3 of them,
Yeah, Kenny looks so well. Kenny looks so fucking well rested. It's actually really aggravating.
I actually slept 2 days ago, though. It was my dogs that were kind of giving me a hard time. We still have a puppy, and he was waking us up at 2:30 in the morning, then again 3:30, then 6. I was like, "What's going on? Just shit, man. Come on." Anyways, yeah.
All right. We got to get out of here. Ian, great stuff as always. My man, the duck, again. You talk about brand management. You're doing a great job branding that duck. So keep it going.
By the way, tonight, 9:00, new episode of Tiger King.
Oh, right. There you go.
All right. Thanks to our guests today, Brian Stan, Ray Longo, of course, Ian Parker right there. Our producer is TJ DeSantis on the video side, the great Cody Merrow. We are back next Monday again. We will let you know who is the 16th seed and maybe some updates in terms of some UFC fights in mid-May. We can only hope. With that, for Ken Flo and everybody else, John Anderson, so long for now. Until next week, appreciate every last one of you. Go fucking later.